Hi everyone, welcome back to the London Football Show. Time for another episode, 6 games into the new season. So we can or we have a better picture of where most teams stand at the moment. Only one place to start. Biggest crisis in the Barclays Premier League at the moment. That's Manchester United, of course. Because I'm
I'll just sit back. I'll just sit back.
Man United. Where do United go from here? Because I'll start. Yeah.
Can
So,
I just say one thing? Can I just say one thing before we start? Yeah.
hmm?
I'll just say one thing before we start. Yeah.
Yep, go on.
He's available still. Yeah. He's available still.
Oh.
Okay. Just in case Man United fans remember what they done with him when he first came to you. Yeah. He's still available now. Yeah. Anyway,
No, actually, go on, Ross. United final start. I'll say what I want to say on United afterwards. It's not much to be honest, but yeah, go on, Ross.
I've got not much to say either. I feel like I said what I said pre-season. I think Ten Hag deserved to have another season, at least until December. Unfortunately, it's not going well for him. The Spurs game alone, you can argue that things didn't go our way. We were still losing that game. I mean, in the predictions, I predicted us to lose. So it's not necessarily a mentality, it's just a more of a reality check for United fans, I guess, out there who thought potentially we may come away with a win given how Spurs were poor over the past few games, scraping it against Coventry. I was slightly optimistic, but then I didn't want to get too delusional. I came into the game from the start, wasn't great. Van der Ven literally just blitzed past the whole defense. I think broke a few records as well on the way. Brilliant cross. Brennan Johnson's on the edge of the box, unmarked yet again. We've seen this plenty of times where all the players are on one side of the box and not covering the other side, and Johnson was left open and he scored. Um, and from then onwards, it was just poor on the back foot. Didn't help when Bruno got sent off. And again, there's no identity. I don't see what Ten Hag's vision is. Ineos has backed him, or at least backed him to an extent. They've done better than, I don't know, let's just say Spurs. I don't really see Spurs spend much money this season, this transfer window. Other clubs spend much trans money in the transfer window. Liverpool don't really spend much or make any big signings. You can even argue Villa, given that the fact that they got Champions League, they haven't really changed their squad much. Yeah, they're still somewhat consistent, or if anything, producing the same level or better output given the new season. And yet here we are going backwards and forwards, one step and then two steps back. Um, yeah, I don't know where to go from here. I'm not gonna have this whole toxicity where I'm Ten Hag in or out. I'm just seeing it for what it is. I'm taking it what it is. I'm not gonna say that Ten Hag has the potential. No, he has to prove himself here and now. But he's quite confident that he has the job, but as far as I'm concerned, Villa's a big game. I feel like if you lose that game, it doesn't matter if we're home, if we're away, doesn't matter if we're on form. We lose that game for me, I think the pressure's going to be on him, pressure's going to be on the fans, everything's going to be on him now because the players can only do so much as well. These were his players. Zertsky, it was his player, Dutch. Again, I've mentioned how I'm not a fan of Ten Hag buying Dutch players or buying players from the Eredivisie. But that's his choice. He has to now back it. Unfortunately, it hasn't paid off. Zertsky, one goal in what, five, 7 matches? Only scored once and he scored off the bench. I don't really see anything happening. Fair enough, Mazraoui and Ligt, they've been performing well and they can only do so much as well. But again, they haven't been, I mean, yes, they've been tested, but if you want to say stuff, games like yesterday, or sorry, on Tottenham, where was Mazraoui or potentially Dalot even for the wing backs to defend the back post? So these are signings. Ugarte again is too early. First start against Tottenham, so I don't want to be too harsh. But these are his signings. I don't know what more he wants from the board, from the club, to be backed, to produce results.
You know what? Yeah. If I compare, right, I compare Ten Hag when he came into the club, right, with Jurgen Klopp. Jurgen Klopp, when he went into Liverpool, for first 4 years he didn't win anything, right? Ten Hag, he's obviously won 2 trophies in 2 years, but guess what? Liverpool fans, they knew where they were going, and Klopp from day one, even though he didn't have the players, he went with his playing style from day one. I remember Liverpool had guys, Markovic and these Alberto Moreno, all these dead guys. But Liverpool fans, they knew they could see what Klopp was trying to do. And even though they were losing games, Liverpool held their batterings, but there was no Klopp out because he insisted with playing his way until he got better quality players. Where Ten Hag went wrong is when he said, I can't play the Ajax way. That's his style. You must. You must. That's how he's played football his whole career, Ten Hag, with Ajax. And he came out and said, from that day, when he said that, I'm like, he's finished. Even though he's
So,
literally in his
so,
early days, you must
so,
stick with your philosophy. You can't abandon it as a
so
manager.
what is the Ajax style then?
Ajax literally Ajax play, they want to sort of suffocate you in the opposition's half. Centre backs on the halfway line. I remember what's it? Tagliafico and these guys touch line and they could invert. Ajax, they were very expansive. They were very expansive, but when Ten Hag came into United, deep line, he never brought the line forward. Only played a deep line and played counter-attacking football. Ten Hag basically did the same with just more money added on top of that. And I saw them obviously they when they won the Carabao Cup, for example. I remember me and Razan watched that game. Obviously, you get it over the line. No, everyone is delighted on trophy day. You don't care how you play if you win a trophy. But I saw the way Man United played. The goals came at the perfect time, but they didn't play well. And if you see their record since that Carabao Cup final, in the Premier League, that was 18 months ago. They've conceded more goals than they've scored. So
So,
this even trying
so
to
yeah,
trying to play this way, pragmatic, it's not even worked.
I
It's not
like
even
that, and I think it's a good observation about Klopp and all that. But I think Liverpool and Man United are slightly different to where they're coming from, because
Liverpool are
then
worse.
yeah, but that's what I'm saying. They're slightly different. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. But what I'm saying is what's gone wrong fundamentally at Man United is not. I don't think it's down to the manager now, because they've had so many. It's
No,
none of them have worked. None of them have worked. Now
yeah.
there's something deep rooted since Ferguson's left that hasn't enabled Man United to be the team that they are. What that is, I don't know.
I
Because
know.
my question to Asamphan as a Man United fan
Mhm.
is that he's won, as Sion says, 2 trophies, but now is it a case of the actual DNA of Man United is completely gone now? But then what is the DNA of Man United? Because he could go on a run and get into another cup final and win another trophy at the end of the season if he stays there. Is that still not good enough now? Is it like the level of, like, you look at the game against Spurs, and like you got the likes of Gary Neville and other people, it's now sort of turning on. There's lack of effort. There's lack of like a team leader. There's lack of like players playing for the badge. There's no sort of like identity of what Man United stood for. But these are players and pundits and people that are talking about the Man United of now, like 10, 15 years ago. You've got to move on. But what is the direction of Man United? That's the problem. Because I just think they've gone through, if you look back on their history of the last 10 years of their managers, they've had world class managers manage that team. And none
Yeah,
of them have survived.
yeah,
Now, there's
you're
got
right.
to be a problem there. There's got
The
to be a
problem,
problem
the problem
there.
at Man United is that unlike other clubs, Mikel Arteta, Aubameyang, if Mikel Arteta had Aubameyang and Özil at Man United, they'll still be there today. By the way, those two players, they're not allowed. Mourinho said when he left 5, 6 years later, and people called him, oh, he's salty, obviously, and everything like that. There's players at that club that I wanted gone in my time that are still there now. And if you've narrowed it down because it's only Luke Shaw and Marcus Rashford left. If I look at it from when he was there at the club, he bought the low. Mourinho bought the low, but it can only be talking about players like that. Luke Shaw, he's always sort of injury
But
prone.
that's
Rashford, Rashford,
Sion, that's
300K contract ruined him. It ruined him.
Sion, that's exactly right though. But you go back to Arteta at Arsenal, right?
He was given
Arsenal
free
stuck,
reign. Hmm.
Arsenal stuck with him, and now look what they've got, right? Liverpool
Yep.
stuck with Klopp. Now look what they've had. Yeah?
Yep.
Slot's come in at Liverpool, and he's picked up the baton because it's well set out now. Man United never stuck with any one of the previous managers to get something set up, and they're now still trying to get something set up. Is Ten Hag the man to do that? Well, he's likely to stay in the job for this season. Then that's what, 3 seasons, 4 seasons he's been there.
3, yeah.
But what has Man United achieved with that? So, Rashamphan, my question is to you: if you don't, not you personally, but if Man United don't think and can't see him long term, who's going to come in? Because you're only going to repeat the process. Because you could say, Potter, or you could say Tuchel. But have we had them type of managers already? Or are you just going to throw the book away? And is it something deep rooted in Man United that's the problem? So I personally don't know where Man United go from here, because they're certainly way off being a top 4 team. And the only way they'd be a top 4 team is if they luckily just creep into 4th place. It's not as if they're
win
going
the
to be.
Europa League. Win the Europa League.
It's not as if they're going to be a consistent top 3 or top 4 in the Premier League for the whole season. They're going to be drifting around 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, and then occasionally go on a couple of games run and throw a coin at the last game of the season. And if they win it, they end up 4th. I feel for sort of the identity of Man United has been lost somewhere along the way, in terms of he's come in, he's bought all these Dutch players. Samson's made numerous points that I fully agree with over the course of the last few podcasts that we've done, is that that's not the right way. They're just buying players that he's either managed before or whatever. It's too I don't know, it's just something years and years and years ago, boys, and not that many years ago in your time as well, but definitely in my time, you don't like going to Old Trafford because you know what you're in for.
Oh, hated it.
These days, people were dreaming to go to Old Trafford.
Bournemouth. Solanke dunked on them 2 years in a row, Bournemouth last season, this season.
And you look at internationally, world football, Man United are still one of the top teams that are well supported.
Yeah, second to Real Madrid, probably. Yeah,
it's a shame. I feel your pain with Samson. I don't know if he's frozen for the last 5 minutes, or he's in shock, but he's in pain. He's in pain.
You see, one thing about Ten Hag, right, where I don't have any sympathy for him. He doesn't play who's in form. He doesn't play who's in form. Do you know there are weeks, months I've heard Man United fans wanting Bruno dropped. He goes and gets a red card, right? Then their fans are celebrating. Oh yes, he's out for 3 games. Then the FA go and overturn the ban. So he's not out for nothing. He's back. And now United fans are fuming. Got Amad Diallo's been their best winger this season. He's always the first one taken off, or he gets dropped. And then he said he's gonna play. He wants to play Rashford back into form, and then he scores 2-3 goals in 2-3 games, and then he gets dropped. He gets benched for the Palace game. So he's basically he's not going. He's contradicting himself. Basically, he's not playing the players that deserve to start. And obviously now most of this team, if you look at the team on the he played, this is basically his squad now, because the people like Bruno, he gave Bruno the new contract, Rashford. And then, who else is Delo? He met Delo there, but I think the rest are now his signing. So this is his team is molded, because if you re-sign someone in your tenure, that's your player now. If you decide to re-sign them, so this is his team. This is his team now. I don't know where else he goes from here. We can't say oh, this is not his team, because it's basically his team now. But in previous Man United managers, they've had to work with players from 2-3 managers prior to them. So yeah, it seems like a cycle with these guys. Yeah, I don't know where they go from here either. Go on, Ross.
Yeah, it's tough to call. I mean, I think the true identity of United is definitely gone. I think it's a long way gone. It's going to take something magical for it to come back. And unfortunately, I don't think Ten Hag is that guy.
Do you know who I think? Do you know what I think? Or do you know what I think they need to do? And he's slightly done it, but I don't think he's the right character. Is they need an Man United player. They need someone like.
Hey, they had Ole already.
Yeah, no. I meant in the backroom staff.
Ruud van Nistelrooy, yeah.
Yeah, but is he the right person? He doesn't seem to be.
I don't think so.
They need someone in that who's got the DNA of Man United through and through. And you can say they had Ollie, but even he weren't the right. I'm talking about a Roy Keane. Yeah, there's someone like that, who can be in there day to day and making sure that if he walked into the training ground, if he walked into Old Trafford, he'd probably be as shocked as anyone to see the difference. Where's the identity? I'm reading articles about the new owners has sacked the kit man who gave 25 years of his time to the club. He's told all the employees on match days they can't have a sandwich now. they used to get like a packed lunch. Can you imagine that with us boys at the press room in West Ham? Oh, sorry, lads, you can't have any food. Do you know what I mean? It's small details that, like what Samson said about the DNA. The DNA of a club is not just about what's on the pitch. It's about what goes on outside and inside and on the pitch and out the pitch. And that's so crucial. And I just think they haven't got someone in there that, like, you could say, oh, Ferguson makes visits now, but he's not able to do that at the moment. He shouldn't have to do that, And I just think it's like, it's very, like, for a football fan, it's very sad to see that one of the biggest teams in our country that's done so much for the Premier League and football worldwide to be in the state it is. You wouldn't even, no one in football now would even put Man United in the top 4 of the Premier League or even the top 6. We can all name 6 clubs that would do better than Man United season on season now. So I don't know. It's going to be a long journey. But winning the odd FA Cup or the Carabao Cup or doing well in Europe ain't going to get you back your DNA. That's
what's it? When I saw what I see, where I know this is finished, the players, right? Like when they need like instructions or any sort of guidance, when they look to the bench, it's Rude their go-to. It's Rude their go-to for like advice. They don't speak to the manager.
I don't know who brought him in.
They treat Rude as the manager already.
Did Ten Hag bring him in or what? Because a lot of people saying he's in there.
Ten Hag brought him in. Yeah, he's part of Ten Hag's backroom staff. But
when Ten Hag goes, he'll probably still take over.
And then what's it? And then the last thing I add is that, like, Mourinho, he ain't looking too bad now. Have you seen Mourinho's record compared to all the other Man United managers? Clear, highest win rate. He's won their biggest trophy, the Europa League. That's the biggest trophy they've won post Fergie, and he's the only manager. He's finished second with 80 points, 81 points. No other United manager's seen over 80 points. So he did that with Chris Smalling as well. So he ain't looking too bad now. But
for me, this season we're not going to go top 4. I can get that out there confidently. There's no way we're getting top 4. Nothing's going to change between now and the January transfer window, or something behind the scenes for something to then for the dynamics, the operations, for it to change. So that's going to happen.
I agree.
There's still potentially Carabao Cup. I mean, we've got Leicester at home as well. So again, with United, as you mentioned, Old Trafford. I don't know how that's going to happen.
It's painting over the cracks, though. It's painting over the cracks.
Yeah, definitely. But for me, it's like, again, as much as I don't want to be putting my whole faith in Ten Hag, worst case scenario, we finish outside the top 4 and we still get a trophy. I'm seeing something. I'm seeing a pattern. He's a serial winner. I mentioned this before. Fair enough. Last season, didn't get top 4. If he doesn't get top 4 this season, okay, there's a problem. But he has a winning mentality, because it's not a coincidence that a manager wins 3 trophies in a row, in 3 trophies in 3 years. Yes, fair enough, he doesn't do it with the top 4. But there's something there. That's something lingering that's what's making me keep Ten Hag. Because all the other managers, maybe except Mourinho, has won something. He's won a Carabao Cup, an FA Cup, and let's just say he wins the Europa League, not the worst one, but the least ideal one out of the group.
The next one's
as a United fan, given the projection we had for the past few years, I wouldn't say that's not too bad. But 4th season onwards, I think that's the line. If we're comparing like the trajectory with Klopp, and even if you're looking at Arteta, just to briefly speak, fair enough, what Arteta has done is amazing. But it's his 5th season right now. Fair enough, he's going toe-to-toe with Man City, but they have to win something. They have to. Because as much as we talk about identity, DNA, and all of this stuff, no one's going to remember, the fact that they finished 2 points behind or their great run. So that's my opinion. But if Ten Hag somehow walks away with a trophy this season, again, it's almost toxic. It's almost like he's trying to tease the United fans, but he's got something in him. Because it's not just coincidence. I don't think it's luck. There's something there. There is something.
He's won the League Cup, the FA Cup. He wins the Europa League this year. He gets one more season. He don't get in the top 4. He's got to go after that. But that's another year and a half away. Can Man United fans sacrifice?
They're impatient like us. Their fan base is similar to us, man.
That's the question. But we better be careful with Southampton, because Sion's desperate to talk about Chelsea, because apparently,
really not.
So
We're
They're
maybe,
doing
doing all
good.
right.
but I'll be honest. For me, the only thing holding this club is the fans. That's what's left of the DNA. If again, we as a community, we can only do so much.
And I'm not being funny. You look at what you've been through over the last 10, 20 years, with fans fans deciding to not even have season tickets or turn their back and create their own Manchester team with the takeovers and all that. Like, your fans are very loyal, and there all the time, you know. But anyway, let's move on from Man United before Roehampton freezes again.
No, I'll move on. I'll move on to my team. Started the season well.
Yeah, the
It don't feel
pitch.
like we're playing football. It feels like basketball games at times, to be honest. You attack, we attack. So like defensively, we've not been that good, barring I'd say probably the West Ham game. Bournemouth, we didn't deserve a clean sheet. We were lucky. They missed a penalty as well. But the one thing I can say, which I haven't been able to say in years, is that for once our attack looks clinical, taking chances, which we haven't been for the last few years. Sancho's come settled in well. Obviously, Cole Palmer's continuing what he did last season. So yeah, he's been fantastic for us. He's got
Jackson.
I saw something saying he's got the most goal involvement since he came to us. Played 39 Premier League games, most in the league. So yeah, he's our best player. So yeah, I can't complain other than sort of the defensive side of the game. But when we come up against the best teams in the league, we play at Anfield after the international break, first game back. So we can't defend the way we've been defending. Otherwise, Liverpool will beat us. But
Yeah,
we're
but I
picking
think,
up points, picking up the points, and we've had a good start to the season.
yeah, having seen them play at the London Stadium and win at last at the London Stadium for a few years, they
Yeah.
were very good. As Sion said, they were very good going forward. Jackson was outstanding. I think they got a bit of pace up there, and they're clinical and they're young and all that. Not necessarily in the age of the team, but you just highlighted Saint Sion. I was going to say tonight about Chelsea. They remind me at the moment of like the Newcastle of old, that are like really good going forward, really good, and the sort of Keegan era of like, we don't care how we get the 3 points, we're happily win 4-3. Because defensively, Chelsea have got to sort a few things out. That's their only issue, and I think you're right. When they come up against the other teams, they may fall short and lose out to the Liverpools and all of that. Man City, which they've already lost out first game of the season, I think.
Yeah.
Uh, they might lose them games by 3 goals to 2 or 4-3. Do you know what I mean? There'd be good games to watch. There'd
Mhm.
be very good games to watch, but they're the games where you really need a solid defence. Because going forward, exceptional, exceptional. But how these young lads can keep it up and all that. Controversial. He's kicked him out of the European squad. Cole Palmer. He's not in your conference squad for the Europa Conference, which I can kind of understand, but I just think you know, it's a bit unusual because you can still have him in the squad. You just don't have to play him.
Yeah,
You
yeah, I
know,
would have had
what's
him as
going to
well.
happen
Yeah.
is what happens if you get to like the knockout stages of that, the quarterfinals, semi-finals, and there's one or two other big clubs in it. Can he bring him back in? There's probably a rule where you could probably change your squad if you get to the knockout stage or so. But I think you should have had him in there because he'd
Yeah,
like to play in
I
a
think they
final. He'd love
revised
to
it in
play.
the January transfer window.
He'd love to
yeah,
play in
probably. I
the.
think in Jan. Yeah, I think in Jan. I think in Jan. Even not just
There must
conference. I
be.
think other
Yeah, there
competitions as
must be
well.
something where you can change your squad because
Yeah.
if there's a transfer window in the middle of the season, no point buying a player and you say, "Oh, yeah, come on, try and sign for us," but you can't play in the Champions League because
Mm.
we've missed the deadline. But Chelsea, very impressive. The manager, to listen to the manager after the game, very, very clear, very good. But then what links him and who we spoke about, Arteta, earlier on,
Pep.
is Pep. So it's that sort of like I'm looking every time I watch Man City now. I'm looking on the bench of the City bench to see what young
Who's the next
upcoming
manager?
coaches
Basically,
on
who's
there.
going to be
Do
here
you
in
know what I
three
mean?
years,
Who's
4
the
years?
next one to leave and
Yeah.
sort of like play that sort of style of football? And there was an interesting point about it because Chelsea did that a couple of times at the London Stadium, and they commented, and I think it was Tim Sherwood at the Arsenal game the other night, where they've now said that Arsenal will not just want to play it from the back; they will sometimes look long, and occasionally go one direction, which is what City do sometimes with their goalkeeper. They go long,
Yeah.
look for the flick on it, and Arsenal are doing that. And Chelsea did that a couple of times, with their goalkeeper on against us in the London Stadium. So there's definitely Pep's influence is definitely there. But yeah,
Mm.
good luck to Chelsea. I'm quite happy for Chelsea. I think they're coming good. But let's hope they don't spoil it by buying another 20 players in January and then have to get another
Nah,
bus to get them all to
I
the
think
stadium.
there's no way. If Todd Boehly does that, then I know he's just
You
a
don't
gambler.
need to sign anyone. You don't need to sign anyone,
No,
but
exactly. I
maybe
agree. If he buys
a good defender. But that's
a
all. You're
goal,
not even necessarily
yeah,
down.
we shouldn't have let Petrovic go, by the way, because he's better than Robert Sanchez in goal. Robert Sanchez, oh my goodness, man, that guy, man. I wish we kept Petrovic. Robert Sanchez should have been the one gone, but for the
Mm,
neutral, we've probably been the most entertaining team in the league because we've scored the most, but we've conceded 7 in 5 games as well. Which, to be honest, when you look at it, we probably should have conceded at least 10 by now. We got lucky against Bournemouth. Bournemouth should have been 2-3 nil up. They weren't, and then we nicked it at the end. But we've probably been the
that's
most entertaining team in the league, probably. But for the neutral though, for me, I like the Mourinho days. 1 goal in each half, 2-0, take the 3 points, and we go on to win a league title. Those are the Chelsea games I like the most, not
mm,
how many chances we've been giving opposition teams at the moment. But
mm. Next.
yeah, West Ham, West Ham. Go on.
Oh,
West Ham.
what,
Yeah, I
what,
wanted to I
what was
wanted
the
to stay with West Ham. Yeah, yeah, with West Ham. So obviously I sort of know West Ham fans. They were sort of not happy with Moyes' playing style, for example, and then they wanted like a more expansive manager. But Lopetegui, if people like do their homework on him, he's not expansive. He's sort of pragmatic in his approach in terms of his previous teams as well. So I wanted to know where sort of what the club direction is in terms of are they trying to evolve the playing style or because for me, in terms of results, David Moyes was the guy. I remember when David Moyes in back-to-back months, he buried when Liverpool finished second to City that 2021-22, he beat them 3-2. And then we went there a month later, top of the league, and we got burnt 3-2 as well. That was prime West Ham back in the day, like well, 2-3 years ago. That's the best West Ham that's been in the
yeah.
last 5 to 10 years, easily, that 21-22 team. So I want to
But
know where West Ham are going.
so in a nutshell, you've highlighted a few points there, which I can confidently say that David Moyes is one of the top managers West Ham's ever had,
Yeah.
without a shadow of a doubt.
Listen, yeah.
Without a shadow of a doubt. You can look back on the history, you can look back even in 10, 15, 20 years' times, and you still have David Moyes, if not first, very high up on one of the best West Ham managers they've ever had. Yes, maybe his time run out. You can understand that, yeah? Maybe Locatelli wasn't all of the fans' favourites, but we trust in Tim Steinberg that's done his homework. They've done a process of getting the manager that they felt could come in and do what the fans were arguing about with Moyes of playing a different style of football that was more attacking and more creative and more sort of expansive and more sort of like, playing from like the number one goalkeeper all the way through the team, as opposed to just setting up and being defensive and being a bit counter-attacking, which was what Moyes was. Now, I could sit here and confidently say, right, well, we've only played what? I don't know how many games in the Premier League. 8, is it? Something
6.
like that. 6, 8 games in the Premier League and a couple of cup games. His away form, people can say, is very good. He's won 1 and drawn 2 away from home. So he's not lost away from home. But the home form, West Ham have never lost first 3 games in a row at home. That's never happened. They've done that. We've got Ipswich on Saturday. Ipswich are flying with a fantastic loan. I think he's a loan player. I don't know if they signed him from Man City. The Delap.
Oh yeah, he's striker. Yeah,
He's outstanding. But again, that's McKenna, the Ipswich manager. He knows his football. A young, and another guy who could have been the Man United manager. Deary me, he was on the coaching staff. But another opportunity missed. But he could come back and be that manager that Man United may want to get the DNA back. But West Ham, I think, there'll be a lot of fans questioning the appointment now. But there'll be a lot of fans saying, give it time, give it time. There's too many things. What happens is there's too many things that come out in the press as well about unrest in the dressing room at half time against Brentford. There was this, there was that. For me, it's about, okay, I never criticise or question or want a manager sacked if they're a West Ham manager during the season. Yeah, I have to sit back and go with it, and that's what we're doing. But we have to live in reality. We don't win on Saturday against Ipswich. I think there'll be a lot of West Ham fans questioning the appointment. Now, who then goes first, I don't know, whether it's the manager or the director of football. I don't know. But all I know is that, West Ham win 3 or 4-0 on Saturday, or win 3-1 or whatever on Saturday, everyone will forget about the last 5 weeks. And it'll be happy days leaving the London Stadium, and everyone will be saying, this is what we wanted, this is what we want, we got this, we had that, because that's what West Ham do. West Ham fans live week by week. That's how they do it. You look at all the forums and all that, and there's some fantastic forums out there where they interview fans after the games and all that, yeah. And one week, they're absolutely, well, I can't even say for 1 week, I'd say for quite a few, absolutely berating and saying, why does Thomas Souček start? Well, if we didn't have Thomas Souček in the last few games, where would we be?
He gets it's like 5-6 goals a season, he gets
and then he
goals.
Equalised against Brentford, and then everyone's saying how wonderful he is. Oh, we got. So we can't you've got to be careful. You've got to be careful as a West Ham fan. For me as a club, let's get on with it. He's been in the job for like a couple of months. Let's just see what happens. Let's back him. We got to trust the process. When you support a club, you got to trust the process. When you work in a club, you got to trust the process. My views on here are my own personal views, not the views of the club. But my views on here and my personal views would be the same as the club. Yeah, I'm backing the manager. I'm backing the club because I support the club. It's similar to what Rasamtham's saying about Ten Hag and Man United and the loyal Man United fans. Yeah, it's not nice. It's not pretty. No one wants to be in this situation. But you're still going to turn up and support your club. You're still going to be there long after whatever happens. So you have to have some sort of faith. And that's what gets us through. I bring it back to like Chelsea. Chelsea now playing really well, but they've gone through 2 or 3 seasons of, incredible for their status, incredible. But I will have to say, like, Chelsea have bought their status a lot. Unlike Man United, they grew their status over 20, 30, 40 years. But it's still the same pain that like Chelsea fans go through the last 3 or 4 years, not getting into the top 4, not getting anywhere, ins and outs, all that sort of stuff, turning into like an American football club run, not team, obviously, but running. So that's what it is, and like, who knows? Would it have been nice for him to come in, the West Ham manager, and play a different brand of football and win more games than what he has? Yeah, great. But it hasn't happened. But I want to still give him a chance. I haven't seen much difference in the brand of football, and I've watched every home game. So, but you can see in patches, there's moments. I just think he's not too sure. And it comes back to the old adage of any club will say this. You buy 8 or 9 players and you're expecting all of them to start, that ain't going to happen overnight.
No.
That's not going to happen overnight. Some have already got his first start against Chelsea last week, I think, or the week before we played Brentford. The German striker's out injured at the moment, slowly coming back. Todiba, the French defender, has only just starting. Kilman's the only one really that started from the off. And it's about that balance. It's about that sort of, balance of like when Moyes was manager, Paquetá could just drift into the background and then do something. But at the moment, he needs to do something the whole time. The way Locatelli wants to play. But I don't know, maybe in a couple of months, Sion, we'll have a better understanding of what the style of play is and what the ideas are for West Ham and what can we see for West Ham in the next year or two.
Yeah, that's fair.
Big game on Saturday. Big game on Saturday. He can't afford to lose that. Every West Ham fan, every person that is associated with the club will be saying it. We can't really lose on Saturday. Because that will create a little bit of atmosphere of like when we first moved to the stadium.
Yeah, I remember that. Well, I'm looking at the time. I think we'll wrap it up there. So thanks everyone for watching. Like, subscribe, and share. We'll see you all again soon. Oh, and before I forget, happy retirement to the greatest number 8 I've ever seen play football, Andres Iniesta. I'll end it on that.
Oh, I thought you were going to say me then. For what?
Come on,
you Irons.